I want to pass it over to Jackie. I know her as Jackie Bruno, but I think it's Jackie Connors Bruno of the Connors Group. And she will share a little bit about herself and her company. So
hello, ladies. Thank you for, first of all, the opportunity to be part of this today. And you really appreciate the invitation. And ladies, nothing better than an intimate group with women to chat. And so I believe those who are meant to be on the call are on the call. And the goal is that each of us will walk away with something, some little nugget, maybe not even recognizing in the moment, but maybe an aha moment that comes later. So thanks for the opportunity for allowing me to share with all of you. So I have been in the recruiting business 37 years. Started out as a college freshman and I got a part-time job at a recruiting company. I lived at William Patterson, but cut classes to go to work. So not the journey I would choose for any of my children, mind you. But I feel very blessed that I was fortunate enough to find my niche at a very young age. And I'm in the same business today. I worked for the same guy for 16 years. And quite frankly, I would have never had the courage to leave if it were not for me finding out there were some unethical things happening. And as soon as I found that out, it gave me the courage to basically say, you know, my loyalty can go so far, but it couldn't go there. And that's when I stepped out, and it's 22 years ago. I actually do have a partner in my business. One of the things recognizing about myself, and I would say I am very self-aware in terms of what my strengths are and where my gifts are and what they're not. And I manage the sales, marketing, strategy, development piece of the business. And I have a partner who handles all the back end, finance, operations, contracts, billing, all the things that are just not my giftings. And I don't know if any of you can nod or, you know, have any of you ever done the DISC profile or heard of the DISC profile? Okay. So I'm about on the DISC profile as far I as you can get, like on the edge of the wheel. I am like a golden retriever. I just want to be pet all the time, right? And my partner is diagonally across from me, a C. He's analytical, loves spreadsheets, everything detail oriented. So from a partnership perspective, while we can annoy each other at times because of being so different, there really is a strength and a value to what each of us bring to the table. And I do not think my business would be as successful today if I did not have him as a partner, because I'm an idea person. I tend to be a little bit more of a visionary and want to just go and do things. He says when I come to the table and I say I have an idea, he hears cha-ching in his head. So his hearing cha-ching enables us to kind of pause, step back. And to be honest with you, there are times when we move forward with an idea and afterwards, you know, I have a recent example. We did an event with our whole team, and I'll share a little bit more about my team. But one of my ideas was to bring in a photographer for the day. My team is only 17 people. We wanted new headshots and some candids. The guy charged us $1,200, and the output does not warrant $1,200. So this is an example of where my partner said, do we really need to spend $1,200 on a photographer? And my enthusiasm, like, yes, to do it, we definitely need the photographer. He was right. We did spend the money. Money's gone, but he was right in that instance. So there is a value certainly to what each of us bring to the table. When we started the business, one of my goals at the time we started it was to have an environment where women would not have to choose between career and being a mom. And that catalyst came from a friend of mine who was a new mom. And she used to manage the Hotel Tara in Parsippany. I don't know if any of you, but she was like a banquet manager there, and she had a great job. But after she had a baby, she could only find jobs paying her like $8, $10 an hour or multi-level marketing things. And I felt like, why should it be that women have to choose career or kids? Like, is there a way to make them both work? So we created an environment where we offered flexibility, and that enabled us to hire some women who, you know, at different stages of their journey have been able to contribute more and sometimes pull back less, you know, the ebbs and flows of where their kids are at in terms of life. So that worked well for us for a period, and we still are doing that. However, over the past few years, we've been growing more with our full-time staff, because as we as we experience growth, we recognize we need full-time players who this is their primary goal at their stage of life, to be able to continue to grow the business. So that's kind of it in a nutshell in terms of who we are, what we do, and a little bit about my journey. I would love, especially since it's a small group, to maybe answer some questions or have a little more dialogue instead of me just pontificating.
No, that's the whole purpose of this call. So thank you for sharing. So I guess the first question that comes to mind was when you decided, right, to take the plunge, right, after working with someone for, over a decade, right? What were some of the things, if you recall, that went through your mind? Because I know for myself, we have this fears and can I do this?
Sure.
Imposter syndrome, imposter syndrome, all these things that turn to creep up. Yeah. And how did you just go anyway?
Yeah. So what's interesting is imposter syndrome is a very common thing that women feel. And it's interesting because men and women battle different things in terms of fear. And with women, we tend to battle a little bit of the not good enough, not enough, and supplement anything in there. So that's not an uncommon thing for women to go through, right? So in terms of my planning, because of the circumstances, I would say there was not a lot of time. There was no planning. There was no, and the way I did it is not the way I would recommend it either. So I would recommend in terms of building a business that you do have a plan, not just a call on a Thursday night, are you still interested in going in business with me? How's tomorrow? That's pretty much the steps I took. So it is definitely not the path that I would recommend. At different times, I've battled different thoughts, and obviously everything starts in our head, right? And then it's, what do we do when a seed is planted in our head? I will say this, our first 2 years in business. So we started right before 9/11. We had literally in June of that year started. And for the first couple of months, I had a small team. We worked from home, met at diners once a week. And then we moved into an office space in August, and then 9/11 hit. So our first 2 years in business are what I would call years of survival. The market was tough, the economy was tough, and it was scary. So there was a lot of fortitude needed by, quite frankly, my whole team. And there was dialogue and conversations. Are we doing the right thing? Should we continue? And for me, it was a no-brainer. It was that, failure wasn't an option. It's, we're going to make this work. It's just a matter of pressing through the difficulties. And I think you have to have a little bit of that if you're going to be an entrepreneur. You can't, the phrase, we're going to try, can't be part of your vocabulary, because trying doesn't give you the fortitude needed to push through challenges that inevitably come your way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Does anyone have a question for Jackie? Feel free to come off mute, ask your question. Go ahead, Virginia.
Okay. Well, first of all, I appreciate the fact that you were forward thinking with the flexibility of scheduling for your staff. That's been something, I've always worked outside the home, but my husband has always worked from home. So we had flexibility within our lives, fortunately, for him to take care of the children. And I've had positions where I had flexibility. So nice. Kudos to you for doing that and thinking forward about that. I have two businesses that I'm part of. One is with my husband, and we were in business with another couple for 6 years. We've known them for 20 years. And I guess one thing if anyone's thinking about it, to make sure that you're the right match, because we found out in the end we weren't the right match, and unfortunately it didn't end well. But I guess my question is, you speak of recruiting. Do you specialize? How do you find both your clients, meaning the businesses that you're providing for, and then the staff to fulfill their needs? So when you, as the staff, meaning my team or the people we recruit to place? the people you recruit to place.
Okay. So as far as the clients, one is I'm doing this 37 years and the bulk of my team has a lot of tenure. So our team average tenure in the business is 20 plus years. Over the past 2 years, we have hired and brought in, I think, 6 new people. 2 of them are in non-business development roles. One is a marketing manager, one is a sales support manager, and the others are recruiters that we're training and developing and teaching the business. But the rest of my team has a lot of tenure. So we've got a lot of repeat business, a lot of referrals that come from that amount of time in the business. We've got a pretty robust database and pretty strong network. So those are always the starting point. And then we will put together a recruiting strategy for every one of our openings. So we'll always start with who's top of mind, who's in our existing network or existing database, and who do we know that can connect us to the right people, and then what are our target companies that we're going to look to pull talent from, and that's sort of the strategy we'll execute. Did that answer your question, or?
Yeah, and you made a comment there at the end about who you're going to pull talent from. Mm-hmm. So define that.
Sure. So, we're a recruiting firm, right? So companies will come to us to find the right people. Some of the right people may be unemployed, and some of them may be gainfully employed. And it's our job to go out and first find them and then reach out to them in a way that's engaging, that gets them open to having a dialogue or a conversation to learn more about the opportunity that our client's offering. And if it is something that makes sense for them from a career perspective, then we'll present them to the opportunity and walk them through the process. If not, then it's, a connection you've made and you never know what the future holds. Yeah.
Thank you. That's insightful.
Right. Anyone, another question for Jackie? If not, I have plenty, but I'd rather it come from you.
Sometimes one question sparks another.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think what's big in my mind, and we've talked briefly about it in the beginning of the call and together and multiple times, is that work-life balance, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we've committed to do, we're gonna go walking, Jackie.
Yeah. So I'd say that's something I'm not very good at. And, I mentioned earlier in the call that I do believe I'm pretty self-aware. I'm the mother of 3 daughters, and there are some things I feel like I've modeled very well for them. And there are some things that I feel like I've not modeled as well. And one of them is self-care. And when I step back and I think that I want my daughters to take better care of themselves than I have of myself, that's, kind of sits a little heavy here. But it's the truth. And I love what I do. I'm passionate about my business. I'm doing it 37 years and it's still fun for me. So, where from the outside perspective, somebody might perceive it as I'm a workaholic. I've never felt that way because I love it, but I'm not very good at carving out time for self-care. And there was a window, I will say this, and Eneri, you will probably remember it, about 6 years ago, there was a window of time, and it was over a 2-year period where I was very diligent and disciplined about carving out that time. However, unfortunately, I got derailed during COVID and have not yet got back on, but it's something I think about is work-life balance, and again, as a Christian woman, when I think about what God put forward for us, he gave us a plan, and his plan, if we follow it, is really the right plan and rhythm and how we're meant to live our lives. And he covers everything in his plan, right? There's nothing left for us from a guesswork perspective if we turn to the master. And one of the things I have done, and this I started probably because there was a period where I was working 7 days a week. And I would always stop at night because it was important to me to read stories to my daughters and tuck them in. And, so I do feel, and my daughters have even said to me, they do feel like I was there with them when I was there with them. They never felt they were competing with a phone or competing with, so that makes me happy, of course. But, so I would take breaks from work, but after I'd get them tucked into bed, I'd be back on my computer again, sometimes till 1 or 2 in the morning. And that kind of a rhythm is just not a great rhythm to sustain. But about 6 or 7 years ago, right in the time when I was kind of starting self-care, I started honoring Sabbath. And Sundays, no computers,
So
no, responding to emails, no research, nothing work related. And that's a rhythm that I have kept. And it's been really good for me emotionally, physically, relationally. Like that's been something that I really encourage. And, if it can't be on Sunday because of your work schedule, find a day during the week where you can experience God's rest. Because he designed us that way, to work 6, rest 1. So I think that that's a really good habit to get into. But I also think that maintaining a rhythm of self-care as women is critical, because a lot of times we can let that go.
I wholeheartely agree. Hold on. Like, I'm writing that one down. It's like, we need to honor the Sabbath.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else have anything to add regarding self-care and that work-life balance that we tend not to balance so well?
Yeah. Now, if you have any nuggets, please do share.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think
sure. I'll share. All right. Hi, ladies. I'm sorry. I'm trying to squeeze this in between working as myself. But, well, I mean, you've had a couple of really great topics in there and questions. But as far as, I just wake up and, I do a lot of listening to, different podcasts and stuff like that. And I guess, I don't know, listening to Joyce Myers and stuff like that. She's really just kind of puts it in. I mean, she's like in her 80s now. And, just really, whatever, her wording just hits me in the heart, where it's just like, you have to honor yourself first. And generally it's like for me, it's the beginning of the day. I used to be like a nighttime, like after work, and after I'm done with my work day, I will then take care of myself. The problem is, just like she's saying, you can never get done with your work day sometimes. Right. And then you're like totally not, and you don't take time out for yourself. So I really wake up in the morning, and it's my time. I've forced myself to get up earlier than what I like to. And though I'm in season right now because of the colder weather of working inside, but I at least take a half hour to an hour in the morning to get out there and just exercise in some manner and honoring my body in that regard. I mean, definitely there's like, I'm not where I would love to be, physically, but at least I feel, it also makes me feel like I'm a part of the day, just being outside and walking. I mean, they say, that the being sedentary is like the new cigarette, right? Yeah. And so it's real. And sometimes you just feel so crappy, even though your business might be doing well. You're just like, oh my gosh, I feel so about myself. Right. And that's not how God wants us to be about ourselves. Right. I just find such solitude, and it's taken time, and thinking, you know what it takes, like the dedication. We all, like you just kind of got to get yourself focused and like, I'm going to take this time for myself because I need it. And I want to live my life, especially as the decades come around.
Yeah, quality of life, right?
Right. You're just like, well, wait a second. I'm kind of on the other side up here. And I really want to make sure that I'm living how I've envisioned. Because sometimes, like, I find, even this morning I was thinking about it, sometimes what you think in your mind is not necessarily where you are in life. And I'm like, I need to make sure like that I'm being on top of it. Yeah. So, or, that I'm taking the time and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just thought I'd share that with you all. But as far as, I have a question for you. I know you have mentors, right? Do you still have mentors? And, how does that, that's where I think I struggle the most. I mean, I have my spiritual mentors, but then I also, work-wise and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I do work with a coach, and I've been working with him for 6 years now. And I will say he has helped me profusely. And I'm part of an organization or group, not an organization, part of something called C12, which is for Christian CEOs. And that's a once a month full day commitment. And that's a group of peers of 12. It's modeled after Jesus had 12 disciples, right? So that's sort of the model. And it's a group of people who hold each other accountable. and it's a very formal program. So yeah, those two things have helped me a lot, in addition to, sort of knowing who to reach out to. Like I've got people who I know are much better at finances than myself. So I might reach out to them for some guidance, or my partner in some ways. He's so much more pragmatic than me. I tend to be more emotional. So there are times when I can feel myself getting, anxious about something. And I know that if I, just reach out to him and I'll be honest, I'll say, I'm getting all worked up over this and just need a little help. And he'll kind of talk me off the ledge, like, because he is so much more pragmatic. Sometimes my husband too, he when I get worked up, he's way more practical and, not a lot of emotional charge in his direction and guidance. So knowing that about myself, I think helps me in terms of knowing who to go to for help in those moments where I maybe need a little bit, someone to help me just calm down a little bit. I tend to move fast, think fast. So yeah, that's probably the combination. But I love the notion of coaching, personally, just because I think having somebody who's, instead of just a friend, I never feel bad asking him for his time to help me solve a problem. Whereas sometimes with friends, you're like, I don't want to have to, I don't want to have to bother someone. I don't want, and by no means, am I saying that we should never go to our friends. I think there's absolutely a time and a place and a purpose. And that's super important, having a network of, women that we can count on and go to one, but they serve a different purpose. I might go to Chuck with something I'm struggling with in business, and he's able to help me map out a solution and offers ideas and suggestions to, so I think that helps. But I think at every stage of life, by the way, I don't think any of us ever get to a point where there's not more to learn or more that we should be doing to help us grow and finding new mentors. And like, we should always be learning. We're meant to, right? Till the day we take our last breath. If we're not growing, we're not staying stagnant. We're either growing or we're going the other direction. So I think, whether it's reading books, whether it's participating in, webinars and podcasts, and I'm recruiting 37 years. I still watch videos from other recruiting trainers. So, and I love it. Sometimes you get a little nugget. It's so, I know I probably went off a little bit on a tangent there, but
no, but that was good. I just had two things to add to it on, and I'm looking at my notes because you have so many great nuggets.
Sorry.
No.
Ramble.
This is exactly what I want. But on the self-care, I just wanted to touch base on that just to help us along. What I found is if you make it fun and with a friend, you'll be more apt to continue doing it. Right. I know Ramon is one of my walking buddies, right? Yeah. And we try to get walking in once or twice a week. And if she's not available, then, and I have another one, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to walk with this one. So just to hold myself accountable to walking and getting out of this chair, right? Because we're very passionate about what we do. And so the hours can come and go, and oftentimes roll out of bed, you're in the chair. It's like my husband comes home and I'm like, oh, break, let me make dinner. And you're back in the chair. And then for those of us who have kids, then we're taking care of the children. So been there, done that for many years. Right. So I think having what I found that because for me, I need to write things down and put it in my calendar to hold myself accountable. Like, I'm going to do this. Granted, there's some things that I keep pushing to another time frame. But when I have it with a friend, I'm like, okay, at 1:00, we're going to walk today. Right. And so because I've already committed with someone to do it, then it'll put more fuel in the fire to be like, if not even for myself, for her, no, we're going to walk. Yeah. Right. So that's just what has worked for me.
Yeah, that's good.
It may work for you. And on the coaches, I agree with you wholeheartedly. For whether it's a coach or a mentor, I know in my lifetime, for every season, I've had someone that either God has placed in my life. Actually, I believe God has placed more in my life.
Many people.
That's just how I feel. But like, I always had someone who knew more than me. Yeah. Right. Who I went to, to ask for guidance, ask for help.
Yeah.
By the way, conversations, hey, would you have a few minutes to sit with me and talk something through? And some of them became more of a formal coaching, mentoring relationship, where others was like a by the way, hey, when you have some time. But all of those are good, right? So
I agree.
Yeah, they kind of help you along to figure stuff out. And I do agree. I need my sisters as well, right? Yeah. That group of women who encourages you, who are there to lean on, cry, etc.
Yeah.
But you also need those mentors and coaches to help you along those things that are from a business perspective or a career perspective that your friend may or may not know. But typically when it's a group of friends, we tend to encourage each other and just the conversation goes differently, where like you said, Jackie, with Chuck, I believe his name was, it's more direct. Hey, no, this is not going to go well. And this is blah, blah, blah. They're more strategic. They have the more experience that you need to get you through that hurdle, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we definitely need them both. They're crucial and pivotal in our lives. Yeah. So start thinking about who should be your coach, who should be your mentor. Actually, I'm a coach, but but go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and a lot of times, right, it's in terms of who we go to for additional insight or whatnot. It could be somebody just young and starting out. You know, like sometimes you just hear something new and fresh from somebody just starting out, and it's like, man, there's just tidbits and reminders. And I think we just always have to have an ear towards learning and be open to, you know, to different perspectives and ideas and thoughts and opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Any other questions for Jackie? And mind you, it doesn't have to be business related. I mean, if you're thinking of an idea, how to kind of fuel and that idea, it could be career related.
Sure.
Is that you, Michelle, that was raising the hand? No.
I don't know if you touched. I have.
Go ahead, Elaine.
Sort of a question. I don't know. You've touched base because I'm working, so I've like kind of been listening and kind of multitasking. I know in the beginning you had mentioned something that the reason why one of the reasons why was the ethical part of it. Like you wanted to do something that really aligns with your core values and like kind of like that mission of what moving forward in your business, right? So, and I know you're a believer, right? So how do you incorporate your biblical principles in a sense where you're still sensitive to those clients that don't have a faith background, but yet you're still standing firm and bold with with your beliefs? With your belief system, if that makes sense.
That's a great question, Eleni, because my business is not a Christian business. So there are some companies that are founded as Christian companies and their core values align with that. My partner is not a Christian, so I am. However, from a personal perspective, everything that I do has to align from a value perspective, whether it's from a business perspective, a personal perspective, a leadership perspective, managing, mentoring my team, the way I conduct myself and the way I expect my company to conduct ourselves should always align with, you know, from a value perspective, who I am and what I believe. But we're not, quote unquote, a Christian business. So there's, you know, from a core values perspective, it's funny, I literally just was looking at our core values today, because one of the things that we've, you know, the whole mission, vision, values, which is very important for a company, has always been a little bit hard for me to dissect down to just a sentence or two, right? I tend to be a little bit more big picture and ideas and things along those lines, but it is important to know kind of who you stand. So from us as a company, we're very relationship focused, and we'll always do what's in the best interest of the person that we're working with. So I don't know if that answers your question, but you know,
yes.
Yeah. So from a business ethics standpoint, I'm not going to do something that would go against who it is I serve.
Yeah. And the integrity part, I really like that part where you said where it's like that personal value touch to how you conduct your business, and even like that integrity part that aligns with your core values and your mission It's right. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Eleni. Anyone else? Any other questions, comments? Feel free to chime in. Even if you want to type it in the chat and I'll ask it for you. I know some of you are multitasking at work.
Yeah. Yeah. The only other thing that, I would think to share is just a word of encouragement that don't ever be afraid to explore an idea or, consider what other options exist. Always be mindful of what it takes to do or build or grow something. But I think, God plants ideas and seeds, and we're meant to pay attention to them and see where they go and grow,
Agree. So good. Letitia, did you have something to say?
Hi. Yes, I just said hi.
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 I had a crazy morning.
No worries. No worries.
Trying to listen. But, I don't know what I am. With all my craziness, because I have one child still in college and I'm still driving him back and forth. My question is, my crafts that I do, and I try to do like a vendor's table, like in the summer, and it costs me like $124 for 5 days, for like 5 months, 1 day every Saturday. And I just feel sometimes in order to make up that money, I'm actually giving it away when I sell my items. And it's like I give a part of myself for free.
Right.
And I'm not getting that much back in return. I love what I do. I love making journals. I'm passionate about it. But sometimes I get discouraged because I feel like I'm not getting anything back in return because I have to put up so much in front.
Right.
So any suggestions?
So,
Go ahead.
well, sometimes considering the audience, right? One of the things that comes to mind years ago, I happen to be very, very passionate about independent artists, just have a heart for them, always have. My husband's an artist, got a lot of artists in terms of, friends and family and things like that. One of the things we used to do was, as fundraisers, we would have artists come in and sell their items, no charge for the table, but ask for a 20% donation to the charity. We actually did it at Church Alive. I don't know, in Erie and Ramona, if you remember, we did it there 1 year, years ago when the church was much smaller. But we also did them at my daughter's, they went to a Montessori school. And the artists loved it because they weren't having to pay for a table, and they were donating back. So they were getting a tax benefit for the donation back, and they would only be donating back based upon revenue. So I know one woman, she used to be a designer for Ralph Lauren. She brought a bunch of beautiful sketches of dresses she designed, and she sold like a couple of $1,000. So she wound up donating $200, but she didn't mind. She walked away with like $1,800. So I share that to say, like, maybe try a different strategy and look at, could you partner with some nonprofits where you design journals and donate a percentage of that journal back to whatever the nonprofit is? It could be a school, it could be a ministry, it could be really any nonprofit. They're always looking for donations. So that's
something to think about. I didn't know that. Yeah, because I put a lot of heart and soul into my journals. People like them. They love them. They appreciate the work that I do in it.
Yeah.
But, I understand what starving artist means now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I give away my bowls.
My husband works. I don't work because of my crazy Ubering for my kids.
Yeah.
They don't drive. One has a license, but the other one doesn't. He really doesn't want to drive, which is kind of driving me crazy. Yeah. I'm going to look into nonprofits and see.
Yeah, see if you can work something out where, they help you sell them and you donate a percentage back, or maybe some of them are running fundraiser events where you might have a table at their fundraiser event and they don't charge you for the table, but instead you donate 20% of your sales at that event at the end of the night. Like, that might be something you could take a look at.
Yeah. And there's other organizations, right, that you can tap into, like the Chamber of Commerce, Women Businesses Associations, just to start networking and to have conversations with other women who, outside obviously of this group, that there may have overcome those challenges, right? Yeah. As I was reminded recently, being a new entrepreneur myself, it's like the first few years are tough because we're learning so much. We're learning how to market ourselves, advertise, finding our audience. There's all these nuances of things that are really new to us. So give yourself grace. And
I also do eBay, but they also want a percentage, 12% plus the shipping I pay for.
Right.
And then if you want to promote your item, it's another 30%.
eBay or Etsy?
How much can I charge people for a journal?
Yeah, I know
that's crazy.
Yeah, she didn't hear the whole thing, Letitia, but yeah, so Letitia has done both.
Oh, both eBay and Etsy?
And Etsy. And
Okay.
So I know that. Say that again?
I didn't do SD.
But you looked into it, right?
So,
yeah.
Complicated.
Okay.
It was really complicated. So there are multiple venues, right, where you can kind of sell your stuff, but they're platforms, right? So they need to get paid. So you need to find what's the right one for you. I know she's posted some stuff on Facebook as well. And just to remind you, Letitia, you have come a long way. I think we often forget our small beginnings, and this is still a beginning for you. There was a time where you weren't even posting your stuff on Facebook. So give yourself credit that you've come this far. You've actually started having these tables where before that was like a no, right? She didn't even think about those things. So you are making baby steps.
Right.
And just, I know it's hard. All businesses are hard. It's just networking and finding the right fit for you and your product.
Yeah.
Right. So don't give up. This is only with the beginning, midway on the beginning, but
this all started as therapy.
Yes, right. She was doing it.
Any share your stuff. I love journals.
Yeah.
Who loves journals?
Eleni was saying,
I love journals.
Yeah. So make sure that you follow Letitia on Facebook, because she does post her stuff there, the journals that she has done.
Can you write that on the chat?
Yeah. So her name is Letitia.
Thank you.
Letitia. And I'll find it too and link it if where did she go? No, she's still here. Letitia. I love journals. And they're not your typical journals. So they're literally a work of art. So yeah, so you guys need to
main pages. It's there's hidden spots. There's just all different types.
Yeah, they're literally a work of art. You guys have to see them in person. But yeah, I'll make sure to include Letitia's link. Let me just make a note of that in my post so that you guys will have that too.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
No problem. I got you, Letitia. All right. Any other questions for Jackie before we let her go back to her work day?
All of us back.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get Jackie's email? I know my husband was trying to get you for my son.
Oh.
Yep, she'll post it in the group chat, and I'll include that too.
Yeah, and I'm on LinkedIn too. I have Facebook pages, but I'm never really on Facebook. But on LinkedIn, Jackie Connors is the company.
I love your LinkedIn, Jackie. I love to read your inspirational quotes, or when you share other stuff. I do get a notification, so it's
thank you, lady. I appreciate that.
For me, I like to read it and kind of just be like, oh,
yeah.
I'm not an entrepreneur yet. The Lord is working.
Nice.
On that, so I'm kind of in that, just getting educated and just being allowed, putting myself in a place where I can read from other people, or like hear other people, or like you said, like the webinars and the podcast. I know me and you've bumped into each other at the Global Leadership Summit. And so I try myself to put myself in places where I can get that knowledge, and then eventually I know it'll come together.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I will look forward to hearing and seeing and learning about that.
That is awesome. Yeah. And for those of you, so everyone here should have gotten an email about the call today, which I sent a few hours ago, that actually has Jackie's business link to her, to her website, just so you guys can learn a little bit more about what it is that her company does and what it's all about. All right. Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
All right. Awesome.
So nice seeing all of you.
Lenny, you have a question? Michelle made it home. All right, Michelle.
Let me tell you, talk about being disciplined. My husband was calling in. My son was calling in. My mother was calling in. There was every distraction imaginable. And I'm like, nope, I am staying the course. I am and staying the course.
We appreciate you, Michelle. Thank you for staying the course with us. I think these type of calls, whether you think so or not, they're gonna help you process some things in your life, right? That you're trying to do. I hope they're encouraging for you. I hope they're reminding you that you already have everything within you to succeed. God has given you gifts and talents that He just wants to help you shine, right? And not only do things for His kingdom, but also use your gifts and talents. So I hope this is an encouraging call. Thank you, Jackie, for sharing your story with us. Lenny, you have a...
Yeah, can you hear me? Because you guys are coming in and out, so I don't know if you can hear me too clear.
We can.
Before it dies. Actually, I don't know if it's a question or just I want you guys to give me some feedback on, for those that are starting or thinking about wanting to starting their own business. I have an idea of what I want to do on the side, right? And I just, with everything going on that I'm doing, work and church and everything, I haven't found or made the time to at least take the step one to start it, to start somewhere, right? I've been talking to someone that's in the field, so it's becoming a mobile signing agent, right? Notary. And specifically for closings, right? For home closings. And I'm already in, it kind of ties together. So I just so happen to find someone
you're breaking up,
who does this for a living, gave me a step one. So I have the resource, right? But I have to, get somewhere and apply for my license and do all these things as a step one. And I guess my question is, how do you guys stay motivated? Where do you find the motivation to just say, okay, I'm going to focus, I'm going to get this done, because it's still in the back of my mind of something I want to do, but I got to start, right?
For me personally, I work best with deadlines. If for example, I've wanted to write a book. My book is lingering out there, right? But I feel like anytime I put a deadline with something, I do it, I get it done, because I don't like not, so I would say, if you know step one that needs to be done, give yourself a date that you want it done by. And, listen, we're all different types of people. Some people work best right out of the gate. Like, I know I got to get it done. I'm going to get it done today. Other people are the ones who studied the night before the exam. So if your deadline is, just for argument's sake, March 1st, you might be doing it on February 27th. It's, and that's okay, knowing that about yourself. Like, anytime I have to do a presentation for a client, it's the morning of the presentation where I'm getting everything together. I tend to work best when my adrenaline is up and I'm preparing. So I think knowing your own rhythm and how you work best is helpful. But I do find that if we don't attach a date to a goal, it's really just a wish, like my book. At this point, it's just a wish. Do I really want to write a book, or is it just something that, until I attach a deadline to it, I even went to a 4-day writing retreat in Montana last year. I got there and I said to the woman running it, I said, so my goal is to have my book when I leave here on Sunday. She laughed hysterical. Like, that's, you know, like, well, that's not why I'm here. So, you know, yeah, that's for me personally, is I think, you know, the deadline is the key.
Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I would say some of us have to take several steps. So even putting an hour a week, and maybe if you don't have an hour, okay, 30 minutes on your calendar a week, do a meeting with yourself to make sure that you start taking incremental steps towards your goal, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have this, okay, this is what I want to do, and then big bang. It's like, well, you may need to take a few steps to get there. Well, you may, if you keep saying, all right, it's going to be done by this day, but you've taken absolutely no steps till that day, you're going to get overwhelmed. It's like you need to prepare yourself to succeed. And a way to do that is to take baby steps towards that goal.
Yeah, that's good.
Eneri,
That's
that is so key. Loved that. What you take a piece of paper, if you're holding a meeting, you're going to write down your bullet points of your meeting, and then as you're in that meeting, you're checking off your bullet points. Well, you do the same thing with your goals to get to that bigger picture. Even if it's 50 steps, at least, okay, you checked off day 1, or you checked off one thing, and then you checked off 2, and then reward yourself. I don't know, get a piece of chocolate, go get an ice cream, or, you know, but, and maybe it'll take a month, maybe it'll take 6 months to get those 50, but you know what? You're working a little bit out of a time to get to your goal. Yeah. Awesome, Eneri. Yeah. Awesome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, say that again? Yep.
In the 45 plus group that we're in church, we're doing a book, The Numbers. It's called Numbers, and it talks about the book of Numbers in the Bible. Okay. And God was like very specific, like give specific plans about the tabernacle, how things should be done. And that's, you know, God is very organized.
Yeah,
you know?
He is.
And that's how we're supposed to be. He doesn't want chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just thought I brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. God created order out of chaos, right?
Yeah.
He also says, write the vision and make it plain. So if you have a vision for your life,
and that's why I make journals.
Anything worth doing, it's worth it. You need to do it well, right? And what does that look like, right? If it's your passion, if it's something that you have this burning desire to do, even if you're not sure where to start writing. Right. Start writing your ideas down. Start writing those dreams down. Because then out of that, then you could be like, oh, okay, I want to get this research. Okay, then I need to take XYZ step. Right. Well, how am I going to get there? Yes, it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. So you have to make sure that you're writing these things down, because if you don't, distractions are going to come as they come every day. Right, Michelle? Today's call.
I'm proof. Oh, yeah.
But that, you know, we are bombarded. Let's face it. We're bombarded every day by social media, by things in our lives, by our responsibilities, others people's responsibilities that they try to dump on us. And we need to step back and say, okay, what is it that I want to do? It's not until you get sick and tired of being sick and tired that you do something about it. You know, oftentimes. So if you have this desire in your heart, start taking steps. For Eleni, it's like she's been getting at it. She doesn't even have the business yet, but she's preparing herself. Yeah. And that's what we need to start doing. Let's start preparing ourselves. Being on this call is you preparing yourself. Baby steps, take one step at a time. And then when you come see, you'll have all these things accomplished. But you have to start somewhere. And if it's still an idea, it'll always be an idea till you start putting action to it.
And one of the phrases my coach shared with me once that I loved is, no one thrives in a state of ambiguity. And that's true of all of us. So if you find that you're stuck in a place where it feels ambiguous, then the first thing you got to do is get clarity. And that's, you said it before, Habakkuk, right? we've got to first start with clarity, because if we're not clear, then how do we know how to move forward, and how do we enlist the help of others?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So good. Well, thank you, ladies. This was amazing call as always. Thank you, Jackie, for sharing and volunteering of yourself and your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And go out there, have an amazing day, everyone. And remember, you already have what it takes. You just need to start taking those steps. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you're welcome. You're welcome. Have a blessed one, ladies.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.